Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back for another slime video. And last night at 11:30, once the maintenance ended, we did get the full update for part 2 of the anniversary with the new Violet, Rimuru, and Valentine units. And I have just ended my stream. We did pull them. Yes, it was painful. I never want to see Soe again, I'll tell you that much. I will never praise him again. Because apparently he found that quite endearing and decided to show up 5 times. And I only pulled one Lumi and one Rimuru, and I had to pity Violet. So, spoiler alert, I had terrible luck compared to some other people that were summoning. But is this banner overall a good banner? Well, let's check out the details really fast. So we've already discussed what these characters can actually do. We will go over it very, very quickly. So Rimuru, he is an AoE dark magic, lowers defense. His skills is the new orb change to the Unity orbs, rainbow orbs as I'm going to call them from here on out. Once per turn, or once per fight actually, you can use this. It changes any blue orb into a rainbow, and it gives you maximum protection gauge, maximum skill points, and maximum ult gauge. So it's as if you're sending a 6-hand of every single orb. Blues, greens, and oranges, all rolled up into one orb. Which sounds really cool. And it is pretty cool, because you get a lot of everything for it. It's very easy to get an EX ult, very easy to get a lot of protection gauge and skill points, especially on a stacking team where you're already getting a lot of skill points. However, it is really, really, really held back by needing to already be a blue orb before you convert, and you can only use it once. I think the one-time usage is what really, really hurts him the most in my eyes. I have used him, and unfortunately, I just think he's just not that good. Because once you use this skill, once you get, your EX ult and your a lot of points and your protection gauge for that one fight, or that one turn, he's down to just an orb stealer, or an orb converter, where he changes his own orbs. And at that point, is he really giving you that much? Do you need this skill to guarantee an EX ult? Maybe, maybe not. It is probably to make up for the fact that for the current beatdown battle, you can't bring Aqua to buff Pierce and give yourself 40% ult gauge because they have Pierce resistance in the fight. That could be a reason. I don't see him having too much use. If you're going for Omega sweaty tryhard damage, he will not be on the team, straight up. He will not be there. You're going to have 4 other support units that are giving Violet big time damage. He will not make a difference. If you're a newer player and you're starting out, you need a blue team, right? You need to have a team focused on orb change to blues before you can even reliably use this skill. And that, you may not be that lucky. I don't know. You could have Violet, you'll have Cleash, you'll have 2, good, decent orb changers, but is that enough? I don't know. His character trait, if you send 6 blues, he lowers defense the next turn. It's pretty meh. And then his EX board, he needs Cleash for extra synergy power, which is new. And then he's a team buffer. Violet. Violet is the prize of this banner, right? She is a single target space magic attack. Our first, true, proper, damaging space unit since Space Millum, honestly, as far as single target is concerned. She doesn't have any extra ability, it's just pure raw damage, and she is the big-time magic attack buffer, the equivalent of Fount of Wisdom Rimuru, who gives that physical buff and everything. Violet is giving straight up 100% magic attack, which is pretty huge for 80 skill points. And then she's also got the same orb change that Megumin has, where it's 2 oranges and 1 green into 3 blues, which is pretty good. And she's actually probably better than Megumin, because Megumin, if you get her ult, it's either you send it and then she's down for a turn, or you go with the entire rest of the fight existing with an ult in the back that you don't want to use because you don't want one of your primary orb changers and your ult buffer to be down for a guaranteed turn. So I think she's going to replace Megumin very, very quickly. I already am kind of falling out of love with Megumin because I don't like working around that whole niche that she's got. It's character specific, and I get it. I just don't like it. Her trait is very good. Protection gauge every 3 turns, very good for a stacking team. So dupes in her will be pretty important moving forward. So overall, Violet will have the most usage because she's probably, quote-unquote, the DPS of this team. Don't quote me on that because she doesn't have a personal buff. This is a team-wide buff, and this is an orb change. Megumin has a team-wide buff plus a little bit extra for herself. Dark Milim, for the last anniversary, gave an alt buff and a little bit extra for herself as well. That's what truly distinguishes a pure DPS unit from a very good single-target support. Because the last half anniversary, right? We had Guy, we have Rimuru, Violet, and Valentine. None of them had self-buffs. They were all team-wide buffs, so they were all meant to do, quote-unquote, the same amount of damage. Versus the Konosuba team, Megumin had that extra 25% magic buff that none of the others had. So there's the difference, and it could go either way. We could get another DPS unit in this meta, or it could just be a team full of single-target nukers and stuff, and everyone is equal. Who knows? Lumi, very important to note that her skill, or her trait, I guess, where it raises 50 points, it is what they showed on the live stream that people were all worried about, where it was only going to be 40 points. It is 50, regardless of how many dupes you have in her. So the live stream was using maybe an incomplete version or whatever, but you do get 50 points every turn from turn 2 onwards. If you pull her once, if you max her out, it doesn't matter, you get 50 points. So already, that's pretty good. And then I see a lot of other people saying she's not that good because the 50, it caps you out and you won't have enough points. Well, by turn 8, which is the nuking turn for most stacking teams, you're going to have 400 points in the bank. And that is enough to use 5 80-point buffs. We don't have a team that needs 5 80-point buffs. I mean, we could make one, sure, but if you're capped out and you have max points going to turn 8, you have enough to do all that. You're not running short on points there. There is no other team that needs more than that, unless you're trying to do some weird, wacky, like you got like units that have double buffs and everything going on. Like, she's gonna be fine. She's gonna be fine. Her skill detail. So, Visions of Coleus and Octagram Demon Lords get 12% stack for attack. Increases all allies' synergy rate, which, based on the JP YouTuber and, I guess, researcher, it is a 16% attack buff. After everything's said and done, synergy by itself is an extra 16% attack on your unit that you're pulling from your support. So, it's not an insignificant buff. It's not very big, but it is synergy rate right here, which means that it leaves it up in the air for a unit in maybe the next one of the two to give synergy power, synergy damage, however they're going to word that. But it's just another way to get a buff on without it being crit or pierce, which may or may not be nerfed in whatever stage. Like right now, the beatdown battle, it nerfs both. So you don't want to crit and you don't want to pierce. So this is just another way to add more damage to yourself that's not straight up attack, because we already have an attack buffer. That's not weakness damage, because we have that already. And then she raised your skill points on blues by 100 up to 500%. Cool. The rest of the units on the banner are not that great. Violet is the newest, and she's almost a year old now. Her skill fusion is minimal. Lumi's meh. Rimuru's got a good skill fusion. Betty Maro's got an okay one. Soei's got a good skill fusion on the Vengeance team, and only on the Vengeance team, realistically. So, I think everyone should summon on this banner, because it is a triple featured unit banner. It is Isekai Revel, which means that it's a 5% drop rate. And I think Violet is guaranteed worth it. Pulling Violet and pulling Valentine is probably your best things. If you pull both and you don't have Rimuru, just stop. I promise you don't need Rimuru. I'll do a showcase on him. I'm not impressed. Even after 2 hours of using him, I'm just not impressed. So Lumi is good. Violet is very good. Rimuru is a skip. And if you have Violet, you have Valentine, save your crystals, wait for the next couple banners, which may be big. I'll talk about that in a separate video after we watch the OVA, because I've heard some things about that. So That's my should you summon. If you don't have any of these characters, if you're just starting out, summon on this banner. If you're an older player and you're looking for advice on where to spend your crystals, summon on this banner for Violet and Valentine. If you have Violet and Valentine, stop. You don't need Rimuru. And for anybody else out there that's already whaled, then you've already done it. Let me know how your summons went in the comments below. But overall, I'd rank the banner like an 8 out of 10. An 8 out of 10. It's certainly not, I think, as game-breaking as Vengeance is, but I think it's still a good meta. But let me know how your summons went in the comments. That's it from me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.